Alrighty, folks. Tonight is our Bridge to Cup title, and it's going to be up against 9 contenders here to take the big championship. And with that comes a grand piece of hardware in the form of a Cup charter for next year. And so, already starting off strong here, we've got 5 in the top 5 starting on the front that are going to be contending for this title here tonight. A lot like NASCAR's Final 4, we got a little bit extra. We've got our final 9, all of which are still alive for the championship. The only thing is, all you got to do is win or beat the guy that you're up against amongst the top 9. So, with that, we've got Tim Courting, the Michigan native, starting on the front row here alongside Cooper Dwight, who is still seeking his first win of the season. Could be a very Matt Kenseth-esque storyline if Cooper Dwight gets to win the championship this year with 0 wins. You got Alan Malcolm and Carson Bowers next row back. Bowers is the winningest driver this season. Starting top 5, you got Jimmy Logano and Alex Sanvital. And then Alex Crowther, who's also in the mix. Eli the Wolf, who got knocked out last week. Rich Roy looking for a title. Jason So, not so much. Trevor Vaden is in the mix. Anheuser Walkner, Spinham Walker, Krista Cower. Looks like Luis Rodriguez is the deepest of our title contenders here tonight, starting about mid-pack. And that is all your title contenders in the front half of the field here tonight as we skim through the rest of the starting lineup. These are all drivers that are just looking to play spoiler here tonight. They don't have a title in the cards, but you could still go out there and win the last race of the season. And so, yes, it is Tim Courting who's rolling off of a win at the last race that we just had at Lakewood. On the dirt, he dominantly led 192 of 200 laps at that dirt mile. Seems to be one of Tim Courting's strong suits is the dirt tracks. We've seen him do really good at the Chili Bowl and Eldora as well. So he was able to harness his inner dirt racing past and rolls in tonight with the most momentum as the race winner from last race. But you're only as good as your last race. So rolling into tonight at the home track, he's hoping to maybe back it up with another one. But there's a lot of hungry title contenders here. You can see them all within the same screenshot right there. 8 of the 9 starting in the top 15. And we're off and rolling. 150 laps, 300 miles here tonight. 5 wide. Well, not quite 5 wide. 3 wide behind your 2 leaders there. You could probably get about 5 wide here at Michigan, though. Tim Courting settles in with the early lead here. He's done it all. He's won a truck championship. He hasn't been in the ARCA series, but he's looking to add on to that with a potentially Bridge to Cup championship. He's a race winner in the Cup side of things, so kind of taking the Allmendinger approach, coming back down here to play ball in the minors, but still knocking out home runs. Here we have Cooper Dwight running in second there. Carson Bowers, your winningest driver this season, holding in solidly 4th at the moment in front. Trying to get in front of the 40 of Alex Sanvital. $150 laps here is definitely going to be a trial of strategy. They're going to have some pit stops. They're going to have some long flag runs here if there's no cautions to break it up. So kind of makes you wonder how to set up this game plan here tonight. Tim Courting, do you want to burn your stuff and risk losing the lead, or try to hold on to the lead all night long and put yourself kind of behind the 8 ball if you start wearing out too quickly? This is definitely a track unlike most of the tracks we've been to this year. We haven't seen this kind of skill set from our drivers this year. The only other track close to this would have been Fontana early on in the year, right around race 7 of the season. And here we go. Cooper Dwight going for the lead, getting the lead away from Tim Cording here on lap 5. Three wide for second, and that is 4 drivers all within the title mix here tonight. DXP competition, you've got Cooper Dwight and Carson Bowers both trying to make it a 1-2 knockout here tonight for the team. Alan Malcolm is keeping the flag alive for TRD. This is the last season, the last race for TRD. Toyota Racing Development closed up shop when Atlee left and gave these teams, the drivers of these teams, an opportunity to earn a team for next year. So Malcolm's already proven that he's deserving in this 19 ride. We'll see what happens next year for Mr. Malcolm. And now we got Jimmy Logano joining the fold as well. This is all very much up in the air as to who's going to get the title here tonight. You can see our graphic down in the bottom left-hand corner of the broadcast screen. That shows us who's all in the mix. That is not in numerical order of how they're running on field, so don't get that confused here. But our 9 final contestants all trying to get the championship. You got the 84 of Alex Crowther, the 19 of Alan Malcolm, the 12 of Carson Bowers, the 41 of Cooper Dwight, the 28 of Jimmy Logano, the 29 of Rich Roy, the 50 of Tim Cording, the 18 of Trevor Vaden, and the 48 of Luis Rodriguez. Now, those might be a lot of names you recognize from years prior here in the Sigma Series. There's a couple regulars, a couple veterans of this Bridge to Cup title. They're coming back after last year came up short. Obviously, this is one of those titles, if you win it, you're not really going to be in it next year, since you get that instant graduation up to the Cup Series. And so the last thing you want to do is finish second here tonight, because that could very greatly determine your landing spot for next year. And oftentimes not, it's going to be right back here in a Bridge to Cup ride. 3 wide for third place now as the gates are starting to open here. Jimmy Logano using this to his advantage. He's going to be looking to try and get up into the top 3. Jimmy Logano won early in the season. Did what he had to kind of lock himself in. But has since struggled to find victory lane again this year. Seeking his 11th championship between NASCAR and now Sigma. 10-time champion he is. 0 times here in Sigma, though. One thing you want to do is try to avoid any kind of mayhem here tonight. You don't want to get tangled up in a wreck on championship race night. I'm amazed that we still haven't seen much from Luis Rodriguez. He's back in 16th at the moment, and maybe having to change up his strategy on the fly here. Alan Malcolm trying to get alongside the 41 of Dwight. Dwight's done well. Great job here so far, early leading. Michigan tends to lead to some great side-by-side racing, and it is not disappointing so far. 3 wide on a couple occasions. These guys also get doubled up pretty equally. Jimmy Logano in 5th there. Tim Courting in 4th. Carson Bowers, Alan Malcolm, and Cooper Dwight, all 5 of which alive for the title here. Bowers trying to get up to 2nd here and make it a team 1-2 running order. It's really hard to tell how this is going to play out here tonight, where you got teammates alive for the drive. They're the only 2 teammates that have made it all the way to the finish here. The 84, that is a solo BMW team of and here we go, we got double side by side. The 19 for TRD right there has a nose on the 41. 41's going to use the outside momentum to his advantage though. There we go. Cooper Dwight holds him off here for a little bit. There they settle back in single file briefly. There we go. I had to go double check the team names. Scuderia Monza, number 84, who's up in the top 6 now. 6 of our 9 drivers all running in the top 6 for the title. That is pretty impressive, I must say. It doesn't get more impressive than this when all your title contenders are right there. You could throw a blanket over the top of them. The 19, of course, that is TRD, Toyota Racing Development. And the 2 teammates, the 12 and the 41 for DXP competition. Jimmy Logano piloting his own personal team, Jimmy Logano Racing Chevrolet Camaro. The 29 of Rich Roy belongs to the North Central Texas Motorsports team. Tim Courting for Courting Brothers Motorsports. Actually, there we go. There is a duo. Courting Brothers Motorsports has the 50 of Tim Courting and the 48 of Luis Rodriguez, so I was mistaken. We do have a pair of teammates fighting for the title here tonight, but that ain't, that ain't a whole lot when it comes to the grand scheme of team racing in Sigma. The fact that we've got 7 different teams represented for the final 9 is very impressive here. There we go. Jimmy Logano makes his move up to 3rd now, and he's trying to hunt down the leaders. Tim Courting struggling a little bit here as he's falling backwards and losing a spot to 6th place. Alex Sanvital drops him there into 7th. Rich Roy on the climb. He's into the top 10. That makes 7 of your 9 running top 10. Not too much further back, you got the 18 of Trevor Vaden. He's going to have to come from behind here, but still with a lot of time to play with. And Luis Rodriguez, the lowest in the running order right now, running 17th, mid-pack, midfield. A lot of racing. A lot can transpire here tonight. And we got a battle for the lead brewing between teammates. Carson Bowers gets alongside the 41 team owner there, Cooper. Cooper and Carson, they have been hard to beat this year. And there's Jimmy Logano on the high side. He's going to try to pass the 12. the not so preferred way, as you can see. Driving around the outside is often difficult. But man, Jimmy Logano's going to make it stick. He's going to blow by the 12 and close the door on Carson Bowers. Well, 128 laps left to go here tonight. Alan Malcolm with the fastest lap so far early on. Jimmy Logano making moves. He's trying to get up to the lead here. '84 Alex Crowther making it interesting here. He's going to try to go around Carson Bowers for third. What's impressive here is Jimmy Logano's closing that gap to Cooper Dwight. Dwight's been holding the lead steadily, and that open, clean air up front definitely helps, but this might be a tough one to hold back. Jimmy Logano is raring and ready to take the top position here tonight. And Cooper Dwight's going to keep the position and use the outside momentum to his advantage here. Seems like Jimmy maybe got a little bit too heavy in there, and he's going to drop some ground at the moment. Oh, the 19 almost made contact there with Carson Bowers. That could have been ugly. They never did make contact, so everyone keeps rolling without any drama there. Wow, look at Rich Roy now into the picture. Even though he's still running 10th, he's got 5 cars to play with right there. Alan Malcolm going around the 12. Jimmy Logano trying to make a move now on Carson Bowers. Cooper Dwight, I mean. Cooper Dwight, not Carson Bowers. The two teammates I'm going to be trying not to mistake for the rest of the night here. They drag race down the backstretch. Jimmy Logano loses a little bit of traction there, but it seems like he's got the faster car at the moment. The crowd will lose their crap if Jimmy Logano took the lead here tonight. Just like that, Jimmy Logano flirting. There we go. Good run from the 28 is going to give him a good setup for the exit of the turn 2 here. He's got an edge. The 41 is going to use his momentum. He keeps carrying that high side momentum to keep the lead, but the 28 ran in a little deeper this time. Jimmy's got a good run here. That's going to help drag the 12 back into the mix, so the more they run side by side. And Jimmy's going to peter out right there at the start-finish line. But it's going to be 3 wide for the lead as Carson Bowers is going to come blown by both of them here. Driving it way down low onto the low line here at Michigan. Alan Malcolm, Jimmy Logano is going to come out smelling like roses here because he's got an edge on the 12 and he's about to have an edge on the 41. 3 wide for third place, all which are title contenders here. He held the lead for 1 lap on lap 28 there. How fitting, the 28 of Jimmy Logano leads on lap 28. Falls back in line here on lap 29, but that's one way to do it, folks. Just, you know, let him know you're there. You don't have to lead all the laps right now. You're just trying to kind of get set up for the good long run here. So far, no caution laps through 30 laps. And Jimmy is just playing with his prey like a cat and a mouse. Title contenders keep moving up through the field here. Right there in the mix, you've got the 29 and the 18 both joining the top 10 fold. Trevor Vaden wants to get in there. Rich Roy's already getting in there. And Luis Rodriguez not too far back either. Rodriguez made up a spot into 16th. Trevor Vaden with the Miku car up into 12th. Could be 11th by the next lap if he picks him off here. Carson Bowers went from running 3rd all the way back to 6th. Alrighty, so we had a brief technical failure there here at the racetrack. We lost footage, we lost coverage, we lost cameras for about 20 laps there. But we get back into it here, and it's only lap 43 of 150. Jimmy Logano gets back to the lead. What you missed, they were 3 wide at the lead one moment after the cameras got cut out there. It was Jimmy Logano, Cooper Dwight, and Alan Malcolm all 3 wide for the lead. Then it settled into 2 wide, and eventually single file to where Jimmy Logano took over the spot from Cooper Dwight. And we're reaching about the 1/3 mark here in tonight's race, and that's where things are going to get really interesting with strategies, fuel mileage, and whatever else might play out here tonight. Still the fastest lap here tonight belongs to the 19 of Alan Malcolm, who's settled in pretty solidly into 3rd right there. The rest of our title contenders, you got Tim Cording, you've got Alex Crowther, you've got Rich Roy running in 9th, you've got Trevor Vaden in 13th, Luis Rodriguez in 14th, Ryan Little running in 15th. That's the end of our title contenders. Ryan Little didn't make it. Walkner, Bird, Burridge, Cower, Hubert, Moger, Horseman, Taylor, Durham, Magoon, Starr, Sustre, Finley Herwig. We'll see him here full-time next year in Bridge to Cup. Yep. And so what maybe Carson Bowers pitted or maybe had a engine damage for the number 12 of Bowers. That's a tough break here tonight. Looks like they had to pull it down pit road and get some repairs done. And he's running about 3 seconds off the pace. So Bowers right now running in 31st. Tail end of the field. Man, what a tough break for one of your big contenders here. Alrighty, scheduled pit stops now underway here on lap 50. That is 1/3 of the way. But the big problem is seeing that number 12 down pit road yet again. With that, I think it shows you that Carson Bowers' night is pretty much over unless he gets a late race caution to help cycle him back to the tail end of the field. That's truly one of the hardest hits that you could have seen here tonight. One of your biggest winners on the season having a little bit of trouble. Mechanical failures are always going to be a factor in racing, and you know, sometimes they just strike at the worst opportune time. He's going to spend some more time on pit road there to get some things checked over under the hood. Tough break, man. You got to feel the team's gutted here. 100 laps to go, and they don't even have a chance to get back into this without some luck. Well, Jimmy Logano starting to drive away with this sucker. No gimmicks here tonight. It is going to be full-on flag-to-flag racing. If we have no cautions here tonight, there is not going to be any stoppage of the racing. Tonight it's going to come down to whoever has the fastest car, leads the last lap of the race, will be your champion of the year. As already mentioned, it's a tough break for Carson Bowers, who definitely had a great car that showed up here tonight, and it's just a tough way to go out of contention here. Seems like Wyatt Wilkinson must have had a mechanical failure before the race started, because he's credited with 32nd here tonight, not even having turned a lap. So Jimmy Logano, that gap starting to shrink a little bit. He got one heck of a jump out of the pits and had cruised off to a steady lead here. But Alan Malcolm is catching him. We already know that Alan Malcolm's got the faster car of the top two. Bit of a spoiler here in the mix is that number 40 Dodge Challenger of Alex Sanvital. Not in the title mix, but still looking to get another win before the season is over. He could win the race and Jimmy Logano could still finish second. Heck, what would be even wilder is if the 40 wins the race and Carson Bowers, or team owner Cooper Dwight, ends up finishing second. He'll win the championship with 0 race wins on the season. So that's very possible. It could very likely happen here tonight. And here goes Alan Malcolm taking over the lead from Jimmy Logano. Jimmy Logano's not out, though. He's going to just settle back in line here and learn from the 19. Tim Cording's kind of struggling here as of late, falling back to 9th. Rich Roy is still holding on to a solid 10th place. Luis Rodriguez in 13th. And Trevor Vaden running 18th. So it seems like Carson Bowers without the draft is about 2 seconds slower here. He's definitely going to need a caution to get back into the championship battle. We're starting to close in on halfway here tonight. The 12 team can still remain optimistic here that things could get back in line. If they were to get a caution, get the wave round, they'd be right back on the lead lap. And if that car isn't severely wounded, we could still see him charge through the field on a late race restart. But it gets harder the longer this goes here if they aren't able to get that caution. Well, that 13 is a lap down now, or at least about to go a lap down as they are working around him. Lap traffic that they're going to have to deal with. Jimmy Logano gets stuck on the inside of that left rear bumper of the 13. He's trying to slice and dice, maybe even using a little bit of draft off that 13 to try and close the gap on the 19 of Malcolm. Carson Bowers is at risk of falling a second lap down here tonight if he doesn't get that caution soon. It would be a very interesting tidbit if the 19 could go back-to-back. The 19 was Bradley Ream last year, who won the title. Alan Malcolm hops into the seat knowing exactly what he had to do. He had to pretty much fill the big shoes of the past champion here in Bridge to Cup, which means the equipment was already on par, and he knew it. He rose to the challenge, and he's trying to give it his all here tonight. He's going to have to hold off Jimmy Logano, who's proven that maybe he kind of had, he was holding his, poker face up until the final race of the year, not showing what he had. We haven't seen this kind of strength out of Jimmy Logano up until this point. It seemed like, he's more content with just rolling through some of the races this year, which, that's part of the game, name of the game when it gets to playoff racing. You see it in real life where teams will just kind of take a chill pill. And it's like, hey, we need to learn what we can learn about this track, but not let the other teams see what we're doing. So it turns into this big game of chicken to a degree, where the teams won't show their stuff, kind of hold their cards close to their chest, maybe do some testing during practice sessions that no one else knows about, and then show up for the race 6 months down the line with guns a-blazing. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing here tonight is the what's paid off for these teams, holding their hand close to their chest to try and keep the other teams off their trail. Alan Malcolm proving that he has the fastest car and the wit, determination to hold on to it. Jimmy Logano ain't gonna let him get too far away here, though. These two cars putting on a great show so far tonight, as it looks like a three-car fight at the moment, which could grow to a bigger field at the front if our other title contenders can work their way back up there. A little bit surprised on Tim Cording starting pole position here tonight, and has since faltered back to 7th. And maybe the setup getting away from him here, or perhaps some of the other teams adjusting accordingly for the darker track setting. Rich Roy up to 9th. That's the highest he's been here tonight. And the 48 of Luis Rodriguez moving up through the field as well. now up into 11th, the highest he has been up through the field from mid-pack. Trevor Vaden has slowly lost positions here. He's in 17th. That's the lowest he's been. I'm still heartbroken here for the number 12 of Carson Bowers. And Cooper Dwight, too. Unfortunately, maybe it runs with the teammates. 41 had mechanical failures almost identical to his teammate. A engine failure of minor hiccups. The Mazda teammates have both fallen to the back of the field. Almost identical. You saw that the ratio there it shows. A engine damaged the engine by 11%. If we go up a little ways, the number 12 of Carson Bowers, his teammate who has had the most wins this season, had suffered mechanical failure of the engine at 13%. I don't know how else to describe that, folks, but that is how the dominoes fell here tonight for DXP competition. It's a heartbreak, and I don't know what else they could have done differently here tonight. Carson Bowers falls to 2 laps down, so he's going to have to get a caution sooner than later. Well, sometimes the racing gods are on your side, and sometimes the racing gods smite you down. And it is such a vengeful spirit, the racing gods. They decide to make the most unexpected changes, like a plot twist, you know, in a M. Night Shyamalan movie that you just don't expect to see coming. 2 of the best cars here tonight. We're up front leading, fighting for the win here, and both of them suffered a near identical engine motor-related failure during the race. Now, it didn't retire them. They're still alive. They're still out there driving. They still have very, very slim margin of chance to get back into this deal. All they need is a caution. They need a late race caution here to get them bunched back up, get the lucky dog, the wave around, and then maybe try to fight for a championship still. But it's really not looking promising for the cars that had the speed. It's like they might be down a cylinder. Both of them knocked the cylinder out, running as strong as they could, hard as they could, but yet the Mazdas let them down here tonight in Michigan. Not wasting a moment up front, though. Alan Malcolm has been dominantly holding this position since the first set of green flag pit stops. Fastest car on track. Now up front leading for what could be the most laps if he can hold this over Jimmy Logano. As we give the wave rounds here, getting Carson Bowers back on the lead lap. This might get interesting. We'll see if he's still got any speed or if the mechanical failure is really giving him the boot for tonight. The great thing is you're still running. And as long as the other 8 cars can still make mistakes, so can you. It's you know, not a given that you have to win this race to win the championship. So staying alive like the Bee Gees might just be the recipe for victory. Alrighty, 1 caution in the books, and we're looking at 65 laps left to go. The window is about 50 laps on a green flag run, so these drivers will definitely have to pit one more time with about 15 laps left to go. Now, obviously, cautions could be prevalent here. Cautions often breed cautions, so we'll see if they stay green or if we start getting caution fever here tonight at Michigan. Jimmy Logano's going to have that outside line. Alan Malcolm the inside line. The pace car is off. Alex Crowther, Tim Cording, Rich Roy, those guys are all running down on the low side. They could turn into a freight train and try to blow by everyone here using that inside line as their advantage. Jimmy Logano has an early nose out on the leader, the 19, and they are getting nearly 4 wide for position. You know, this is a little early to start getting this rambunctious for the win. 3 wide at the lead as the 84 is looking to try and take the spot. Let's just hope everyone makes it through the next few turns here without trashing the entire field. While you got drivers like Carson Bowers in the back, maybe hoping that could happen. 3 by 3 by 3, they go roaring through turn 3 on the exit of turn 4. The 84 of Alex Crowther is going to come out in the top position. Rich Roy up to the highest position he's been all night as he's up into 5th. Luis Rodriguez also moved up into the highest position he's run all night, running about 8th. Jimmy Logano's stuck up on that high side. He needs to find an opening down low, and he needs to find it quick. As the 19 of Malcolm is just going to go to town on that inside line and start to drive away with it here. Crowther, on the other hand, gets one a hell of a jump, and he's starting to pull out from the rest of them. Jimmy Logano finds a bit of momentum on the high side. Is he going to be able to close the door? Oh, and they are 4 wide, trying to wreck in the midfield here. Not seeing where the DXP competition teammates are showing their speed. They're definitely running around minus a cylinder, which is beyond brutal. But like I said, It's never over until it's over. If the rest of the field all wrecks in front of you, all you got to do is beat the other 8 competitors. So they might be playing the long odds here. The way they're racing up front, there's no telling if the entire field wrecks out here tonight. Crowther leads, Malcolm up to third, Jimmy Logano sitting second. Tim Cording now up into third as that drops Malcolm back to fourth. Rich Roy in fifth. Once was 9 cars with a valid shot at winning it here. We're really down to about 5 at the moment. Maybe 7, but 2 of them very much run around shooting duds at the moment. The 41 and the 12, it's just a tough way to go. Had the fastest car, was out front and leading laps, and getting struck by the mechanical gremlins that you never want to see in a championship battle. Jimmy starting to run down the 84 here. He's going to have a good run on the front stretch. The 84 is holding the lead for now, but I think Jimmy Logano's definitely got the faster car between these two. Doesn't seem like anyone's got more speed than the 19 of Malcolm. Seems like he gets stuck in traffic a little bit, and that slows his car down. He's happier when he's up front. And here comes Jimmy Logano. Tim Cording thinks about it. It's been an interesting couple of weeks for Tim Cording. He just got ousted by a race at Darlington where he was leading with the closing laps, and Shy Turtle came and shut him down to win that race at Darlington. And then Tim Cording went on to win the dirt track just last week to head into this race with momentum on his side. Starting to find it again here tonight after struggling mid-race there during the first half. And with just about 58 laps to go, he's trying to get back up to second here. Man, Carson Bowers, he's 1 second off the pace. Cooper Dwight 1 second off the pace. Tough, 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 tough. I cannot reiterate how tough that is. 14th right now for Trevor Vaden. Wow, 8th for Luis Rodriguez. 6th for Rich Roy. And it's 3 wide for second place. Tim Cording, the meat in the middle of that sandwich. Jimmy Logano on the high side. He's going to close back down in front of the 50. And the 40 looks like he might want to try to make it 3 wide here for third place. Wow, what a cut from Jimmy Logano there. And now it's 4 wide for fourth place. Woo! That kind of settled back into line 3 wide there, but holy cow, folks. You can't tell that the, these drivers, the intensity's picking up here as the second third of this race is about to be put in the books. Jimmy Logano went 3 lanes of traffic down to the bottom groove there, closing the door on everyone that was behind him. He knew it was now or never. He had to get back in line and start running down this 84 if he wants a chance at the title here. I don't know what it is, why it just comes down to championship racing, but there's always more drama when it comes to the title. You know, NR2003 does not know that there is a championship on the line here tonight. But you're watching this race with me, and you can tell the intensity is another level. They cranked it up to 11 plus, and they are fighting tooth and nail, sweat and blood to get this championship under their name. We haven't seen Jimmy Logano run this strong all year, and it seemed like he was probably going to be content with about a top 5 run in the championship finale, the way his season looked. You never, ever underestimate the final race of the year. There's always more that go into this. They actually probably run at 50% throttle for the other 29 races a year, that they know this is the one that it all matters. You know, why go on a tear, winning all the races, expending all your resources when this is the biggest one of the season, the final one of the season, to get that title, to get the big accolade of being a Bridge to Cup champion. And I don't think anyone really knew who was going to rise the occasion. We knew that Carson Bowers was pretty much a clue, a lock-in, a number one seeded contender for this title. But just like everyone, he's had the bad luck bug hit him here. And it could have happened to absolutely everyone. It could have happened to anyone. But it just so happened to happen to the guy with the most wins this season, which is a tough pill to swallow. When you know you've got the best car, you've won the most races, you roll into this final race rolling high, knowing that all you got to do is win one more race. And then it happens. Then the uncontrollable rears its ugly head. But that's the beauty of it all. This race is not over. They may be down, they might be out at the moment, but the other 8 drivers still have to finish this race. And just like that, if they all have a mechanical failure, they know that the strategy changed up a little bit here now. 15 laps to the final. These guys are all going to have to pit one more time. Does that mean Carson Bowers and Cooper Dwight are sitting back there saving fuel? I don't think the NR AI are that smart. But if they're running at half throttle this whole time, they could be saving a bunch of fuel, and they might be able to make it interesting. Honestly, if they're going to try to do that, they better be running at a quarter throttle to try and save nearly double the fuel here at the finish. Top 4 getting really tied up here, tight at the front. Malcolm trying to get back up to second as he pushes Jimmy Logano high. Tim Courting right there behind Jimmy Logano now. Jimmy Logano uses the outside to his advantage and gets right back to the front of those two. Sets his targets back on the 84, who has been up front here since the restart. Lots of comers and goers as we've seen the lead swap hands quite a few times here tonight. Cooper Dwight looks to be 6.8 seconds off the lead. Carson Bowers 13.5 seconds off the lead. Seems like the damage struck the 12 car a little harder than the rest. Well, here comes Tim Courting, and not quite as the 28 of Jimmy Logano closes it back down. It's really getting interesting here, folks, as we know the laps ticking away here. Heck, Luis Rodriguez is getting up into the mix again. He's up to 7th. He's highest up he's been here tonight. Green flag run is definitely getting stretched out here as Jimmy Logano's starting to run the 84 back down. Not the 20 anything, 84. 28 though, right there on the inside, the 84 on the high side. Jimmy showing that American muscle, trying to move to the front. BMW though holding them off at the moment. Well, Jimmy Logano is catching him, but not passing him. It's a little hard to pass here, it seems. Late in the run, the air getting a little thicker from the leaders. And now he's trying to make that move on the backstretch. It seems like every time you try to execute the pass, it's like a yo-yo. You throw it back, and then it comes right back at you. A boomerang, yo-yo, whatever you might want to liken it to. You get a good run, you flick it, you fall backwards again. And now Jimmy Logano under attack by Tim Cording. Alan Malcolm, Alex Sanvital, they're all right there. Jimmy Logano maybe overused it a little bit there, burned up his tires as the 50 gets by. The 19's going to get by if he's not careful. There we go. Jimmy Logano falls back to fourth. That's the deepest he's been in a little while. Sanvital down on the low side. Tim Cording with a good run, though. He's trying to catch up to the 84 here. Here comes Tim Cording now as he gets a good run on the 84. The best run we've seen in a while for this lead battle. He's going to carry that momentum all the way on the low side. The 84 is going to have a run on the high side. 19 decided to drop to the low side on both of them here. It's going to be nearly 3 wide for the lead. Malcolm wasn't able to get there in time, but Tim Cording's right there alongside the 84. This has allowed Jimmy Logano to close that gap back up. 84 of Crowther, crowding the 50 a little bit. 50 not given a hair as they still fight back. Side by side going into turn 2. Oh, and Tim loses it there. Uses it up a little bit much. Wow, Jimmy Logano was knocking on the door. He was trying to figure out the line to run there, and he got kind of hucky-bucked up. I don't know what you want to call that. That was kind of herky-jerky. Well, how about that? Can engage with a top 10 run here tonight, running in 6th. Not a title contender, but still looking to get a race win. He's trying to audition for next year to maybe land one of these higher prestige seats. His number 5 Cadillac hasn't been bad, but it hasn't been stellar. And he hasn't been able to run for very many wins this year, hence the reason why he's not in the championship finale. Alan Malcolm settles into 2nd for now. Tim Cording trying to maintain a 3rd at the moment. The 40 of Alex Sanvital keeping him on his toes. "35 laps remaining. Alex Crowther holding a steady wheel at the front. He's been able to fend off all the attacks from the other title contenders trying to steal the lead away from him. But all he's got to do is hold on for 35 more laps. Strategize with fuel. With 15 laps to go here tonight, it's going to get interesting, folks. Heck, as it is always unpredictable, you never know if we're going to have another caution here tonight. It didn't seem to be caution fever, as that one caution was kind of a standalone at the moment. A stalled car on the racetrack after losing fuel pressure. The 68 of Finlay Herwig brought out our first caution, and so far the only one. He has since got the tow truck, pulled him back. He's 2 laps down, but still running. Here we go, Malcolm trying to take the lead away from Crowther. Lap traffic as well. It might be the 12 of Carson Bowers that they're going to have to deal with here. Carson Bowers put in a very vicarious position here, knowing that the title is all right there behind him. That he has nothing else he could do here except try to slow these guys down. He tried to cut down in front of the 84 and thought better of it there. You saw him, and he drove as low as he could and then quickly steered as far as he could from the 84. Tough night for the 12 team. 7 wins on the season. Just like last year, it just, you know, the winningest driver does not always win the title, and that's going to fall relevant again here this year as the number 12 goes back to being 1 lap down here tonight at Michigan. 2 seconds off the pace, and he is just a sitting roadblock at the moment. Down a cylinder, running around 7 cylinders. Just a tough break. Crowther is impressing me here. That 84 keeping a steady wheel at the front. It's about to be 3 wide for 3rd place again. We've said that numerous times here tonight. 3 wide for 3rd. And dang near 3 wide for 5th. Rather 6th, I mean. 30 laps to go. Tim Cording leads this secondary group of cars here. Oh, 3 wide. Jimmy Logano gets suckered up to the high lane there. He's going to lose some precious ground to the lead half of the field here. Malcolm doing what he must to try and run this 84 down. It's a two-car tango right now. Here we go. Alan Malcolm looks low. 84 is going to close the door, though. But it seems like the 19's starting to find his rhythm here as he keeps trying to catch up and close the gap to the 84. Crowther has been hard to get around here in the later half of this race. Holding that steady wheel at the front of the field. He's only got 26 laps left to close this thing down. But green flag pit stops are more than likely going to take over this race here in about 10 laps, as it'll put us with about a 14 lap crunch to the finish for most drivers pitting for the last time here tonight. Still only one caution here tonight. Everyone's been minding their P's and Q's. It's been a clean race with all the drivers involved. Couple mechanical failures have really put a few drivers behind the mark here. And it's kind of the ebb and flow right now, the slow, steady, calm before the storm, I would imagine, as a lot of these drivers are just waiting it out, trying to save what they've got left for the final push. Knowing that they're going to have to pit once, they're going to need a near perfect pit stop to gain some positions during the transition here. And Alex Crowther has not put a wheel wrong yet, nor has Alan Malcolm for that point. Jimmy Logano's couple struggles here tonight that he's gotten up front, looked good, fallen backwards, looking mid at the time being. But how about Luis Rodriguez? He has climbed from a near mid-pack start to sit in 6th and amongst the top 4 in the championship finals. Oh, and we've got a duel for the lead as Alan Malcolm gets alongside the 84 of Crowther. We swapped back just at the wrong time as these two are going to get side by side racing. Well, just like that, Malcolm struggled to get around the 84, and he has had to sit back and recoup. There's been quite a few times we've seen that where they get side by side for the lead and then lose all the traction they had. 84 is putting on a clinic here so far. Laps led, let us look at that and see who has led the most laps here tonight. By no surprise, grand total of 43 laps led for Alex Crowther. Even best over the 41 of Cooper Dwight, who had 36 here tonight. And pit stops are happening early here. 21 to go. Our leaders making it the undercut strategy. We knew it was going to be about 15 to go. They're getting a head start. They knew they're not going to be able to make it to the finish. So, as we like to do here in Sigma Racing, whenever something like this happens, we're going to jump to who's still out on the strategy. Now we're in the danger zone for a few drivers that have already pitted. And staying out this long could get you a lucky break if you get a caution. Tim Cording amazingly holds the lead with his teammate there, Luis Rodriguez. And they're just now getting around the 19 and the 84, putting them a lap down here tonight. The undercut strategy is usually a good thing. And the huge deal is right there. The 19 was actually able to get the advantage on Alex Crowther, which could be huge here if this all cycles through everyone making the final pit stops. It's about to get wild here, folks. The two teammates, the Michigan-born driver there of Tim Cording and his teammate Luis Rodriguez, run 1-2 with 18 laps to go. If they are somehow able to get a caution, they'll trap the two fastest cars a lap down here tonight. Alan Malcolm right there, one lap down at the moment. And the 84 of Alex Crowther. But they're going to have the faster cars here. They're going to have the tires. They're going to have the fuel. They're going to blow around this 50 like he's a sitting duck. This is a long gamble, and I don't know if it's going to pay off if the 50 has to pit here. He's going to stay out another lap. The 48, not as lucky. Luis Rodriguez had to pit there. Tim Cording, he's hoping for a caution right now. Oh, and the 84 is going to get side by side with the 19 of Malcolm. Those two, that could be for the win right there that we're watching in front of Tim Cording. 84 is still struggling to get around the 19 at the moment. How much fuel did Tim Cording save here, folks? Is he going to pit this time? I almost guarantee you he's going to have to pit here. By golly, he's going to stay out with 15 to go. .48's going to come right back out behind the 50. Right back in the lead lap battle with these two up front of them. I really don't know how this strategy is going to pan out for Tim Cording. The pole setter playing the obviously different strategy here. Has to pit here on lap 135. He made it 5 laps longer than your leaders, though. But it's not over. There's still drivers that I think may not have pitted yet. Not as much as I was thinking. It looks like we're going to come back to these two at 1 and 2, as those were the last of our drivers not yet to pit. Side by side for the lead. It's going to be Malcolm with the advantage, but the 84 not letting Malcolm get away with it here. Cording's going to come out just short. He's going to have fresher tires, though. And with 14 laps, he can set it to kill. So we'll see if that's going to be enough time for him to close the gap on these two leaders that have been the stars of the show here in the second half. More side-by-side racing action. We could see a title here tonight decided by a photo finish. And man, would that be wild. Malcolm keeping the edge on the 84, but the 84 keeps him from closing the gap and taking that bottom line away. As they have 13 laps left to go, ooh, the 19 finally finds an opening and closes the door. Jimmy Logano in third. He's about 3 seconds off the lead here. But still not out of it with 13 laps to go. What's going to impress me here is the Michigan native of Tim Cording, playing that interesting curveball strategy. He's got fallen back to 8th here. He's about 7 seconds out of the lead, so he's going to have to knock out about a half a second a lap if he wants to catch the leaders. And working with the lap traffic, that's only going to greatly disturb his chances. His teammate Luis Rodriguez, on the other hand, who pitted 1 lap earlier, he's going to have pretty much about, maybe less than that to close the gap. 4.8 seconds, he's going to have to pick it up, try and close the gap. Still at about half second a lap to catch him. But then if we get a caution here in the final laps, that's, everything's gone out the window at that point. There's no telling. We're going to go ahead and add laps for green-white checkered just in case we need it. Because when you got a title on the line like this one, you want to give everyone every fair shot to win it. 10 laps to go. And the gap staying pretty steady there for Jimmy Logano at 2.5 seconds back. He's going to need some very big gains to catch these two leaders. But the more they go side by side like this, the better a chance it'll give Jimmy Logano to get back into the battle. Drag race down the front stretch. The 84 is going to have a nose. The 19 peeks a nose out now. That slows both of these drivers down significantly, as that should give Jimmy Logano a good boost to catch up to him. Jimmy Logano dealing with the 40 car, kind of slowing his roll down. How wild of a finish would this be for 19, the 19 of Alan Malcolm. Last year, the championship went to the 19 car. Don't want to jinx it, knock on wood. Don't want to give the commentators jinx, the commentary curse to anyone. Alan Malcolm has had a stellar year, and so has Alex Crowther for that. And here goes Crowther with a move for the lead. He's going to get the advantage on the 19. Had a good run on the inside, and he closes the door. Now we're going to start playing a game of leapfrog, as these two drivers do not want to let the other guy win. Championship on the line. Each driver wants it worse. Crowther starting to drive away with it now, as Alan Malcolm just simply has to sit back and recalculate his approach. Having lost the lead pretty quickly there, they're really starting to stretch it out, as it's nearly 3 seconds back to third place. Alex Sanvital. And seemingly setting up to be a drama-free finish without a whole lot left in the mix. Still a two-car fight at the front. Could go either way between Alan Malcolm and Alex Crowther. Definitely two of our top dogs in the mix. They've had a great year. We'll see with about 5 laps left to go here if Alan Malcolm's got anything left in the tank. Jimmy Logano looks like he may just have to be content with a 3rd place in the title. Luis Rodriguez rebounds for what could be a 4th. Rich Roy for a 5th. Tim Cording for a 6th. And 7th place is going to go to the 18 of Trevor Vaden, as 8th and 9th would go to the 12 of Carson Bowers and the 41 of Cooper Dwight, who are both trapped laps down here at the end of this one. Heartbreak for 2 of the fastest cars all year. The Mazdas really did have winning capabilities, and just had a little too much on the setup here tonight and overcooked it. Malcolm trying to close that gap to the 84. Are the attempts at the end here just going to be futile moves to try and fight for the win? 19 doesn't seem to have near as much speed as the 84 saved up. Starting to close that gap a little bit with 3 laps to go. It's going to come down to the title here between these two drivers. Short of a caution. We do have green-white checkers enabled in case there is a late race caution here. It would be these two, their race to lose. Their championship to lose if anything were to happen. Malcolm getting ever closer here. Couple laps left to go. Lap traffic factoring in as well. The 84 is going to have to work his way around the 13 of Noah Hobson. '19 is closing that gap. They're going to be down to a handful. A couple of laps left to go. Is the 19 going to be able to use the lap car to his advantage? Or is it going to damper his fight for the win? The 84 gets around the 13 here. The 19 might be using a little bit of draft to his advantage. He's going to go down low. He's going to try to go in the middle lane, down to the low lane. 84 holds the lead. It's going to be hard for him to catch that 84 the way he's running. The race stays green. It doesn't look like another caution is going to come out. This race will finish under regulation. 84 driving away with it now. Alex Crowther, the second winningest driver this year at about 5 wins, looking for the 6th one here tonight. He's going to drive away from Alan Malcolm in the final lap. Malcolm still not able to get around the dirty air. That 13 had slowed him up significantly. Crazy part is that is another BMW, so maybe some BMW shenanigans working out here at the end, but none too heinous, as the 84 of Alex Crowther is going to roll around and take the Bridge to Cup Championship here this year, earning himself a seat in the Cup Series for next year. Give it up for the 84 of Alex Crowther, your 2025 champion. Getting his 6th win on the season, second most to that of Carson Bowers, who had 7 this year. Alan Malcolm comes home in second. A great campaign for that 19 team. But what a wild, crazy night of racing here in Bridge to Cup. And another season comes to an end. The Bridge to Cup Series closes a chapter here in 2025. New name at the top of the board. Alex Crowther takes the big win and the big championship to close it all out. Jimmy Logano came home third in the championship. Not a half bad year. And he's going to be up in the Cup next year. So what we'll be looking at is these drivers in the Bridge to Cup Series are going to be running some more exclusive, uncharted rides for next year. And you're looking at about your top 10 there who could have some great runs in a Cup car for 2026. And there's only one of which will be chartered, and that will be the 84 of Alex Crowther, who will move up into Cup next year full-time with that chartered ride. Now, of course, with that charter, you gotta back it up with success. And if he's not able to succeed in the Cup side of things, he could get relegated back down to here in Bridge to Cup by 2027. So but yet again, you win the race, you win the championship. We saw it here tonight. It seems to happen in Bridge to Cup each year that the driver that wins the championship is often the driver that won the race in the season finale. And a huge congratulations for the 84 of Alex Crowther. And the team owner being that of Guido Piano of the USA Truck Championship success. So and ultimately, thanks to y'all for tuning in on the race here tonight. I'm going to step away from the computer for the second half and let the truck race run minus the commentary. But ultimately, we crowned our champion here tonight in Bridge to Cup. Stay tuned if you want to watch the truck race, as that race will run uninterrupted, hopefully. And, yes, so definitely a kind of a surprise champion here tonight. We didn't exactly have the 84 storylines all written out, but that storyline was still as valid as anyone else's, taking the title here at Michigan. What's crazy is even Alex Crowther may have taken the points lead in regular points tally. We still keep the regular points tallied throughout the year, even though we do the head-to-head matchups to help kind of set up a playoff-style championship bracket here in Bridge to Cup. But Crowther wasn't too far behind. And with the misfortune for the 12 team of Bowers, might be interesting to see that Crowther actually won the championship straight up here tonight with the most second most wins and potentially the most points scored with misfortune out of the 12 camp. So keep your eyes peeled for the points once I do get those scored, maybe later tonight. Next race will be the USA Trucks West title fight. The championship finale for the USA Trucks West all concludes here tonight at Evergreen in Monroe, Washington. Now you might notice not every truck is in the field, as it's only a 35 deep field in Evergreen. It's a short track after all. but we're going to be running the 169 lap Pacific 169 for these USA Trucks West drivers. So stay tuned for some truck racing action. It's coming up right now here on Sigma's Home for Racing on YouTube.
Favor, just touch all your connections, touch your Hans, just like you want it. Favor, just touch all your seatbelts, touch all your connections, touch your Hans, just make sure you get everything like you want it.